Nordcry has only just begun, and there's already what appears to be content creator drama. This specific drama is actually between two people who I consider friends, actually. This is Jeff and Glaive. Now, when I say friends, I'm obviously talking about in the content creator space. We're acquaintances, and I have no bad blood with either of them. And I actually agree with both of them on many different topics, so I'm curious to see what has gone on this time. This video is called He Proved My Point, Why We Defend Broken Games Like Genshin Impact, and it's by Glaive, so I'm going to assume there's a little bit of bias in this video, but I'm going to go into it as level-headed as possible and try to give you all a rundown of this situation and just give you my point of view as a bystander, like you guys, and see where I stand with this. Is anybody actually in the wrong, or is this just a pointless drama? Let's take a look.
It is a strange feeling to see your work being discussed by tens of thousands of people. It is even stranger when the work they're all discussing isn't actually the one you created. This video is less of a response and more of a case study. We're going to look at—
I'm going to assume this— wait, minor spelling mistake?
One
Hold
you
on.
created. This video is less of a response and more of a case study.
Wow, a whole video's ruined at this point, Glaive. Jesus Christ. You gotta up your literature game. I'm kidding, obviously. So I'm assuming this is talking about like Genshin Impact, because that's the work that they're defending or attacking when they didn't create the game, right?
We're going to look at what happens when a piece of criticism is taken out of its original context, misrepresented by a much larger voice, and then released into a passionate and often divided community. The chain of events that followed says very little about me or any single creator. It does, however, says a great deal about the state of online discourse itself. And like any story—
I'm gonna just say this in advance. He sounds angry this video, so I'm assuming it's pretty bad. This is typically what happens though whenever you get like large community backlash from the Genshin community, to be honest, or any gacha game community, or any community in general. It makes you passionate, and that passion can be construed as anger or something along those lines. Let's take a look.
This one begins with a single piece of content, but before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because this one will be one hell of a ride. A little while ago, I published a video called How Genshin Impact Sells Disappointment. The goal of that video was to look under the hood of the game. The analysis wasn't about the story, the characters, or whether the game is fun or not. It was a look at its core design, the systems and the gacha that shape how you play every day.
Okay, this is interesting. So I haven't actually seen that video yet. Let me know in the comments if I should give it a watch to get some full context here. But since this is also about Zajef, I know Zajef is against gacha. Like that is a well-known fact at this point. He does not like the gacha element. So
it was a critique of Genshin Impact specifically. I want to be clear about that because it was a self-contained analysis of one game, and one game only. I did not compare to any other game. The video did what I expected. It started a conversation, but then it was noticed by a much larger creator, Zajeev77, and the conversation took a very different turn. He posted his thoughts on Twitter, and as you can see right here, he frames my entire argument as this simple, tribalistic take. Genshin is Satan, and Wuthering Waves is the promised land. A classic online—
Let me read this. Call me hypocritical if you want, because I've definitely been annoyed by people saying things like this before, but I honestly don't mind it that much nowadays. You think Genshin is Satan and Wuwa is the promised land? You do you, man. Being a hater is fun. I get it. F solo leveling. Okay. I'm trying to piece together exactly the context of this whole situation. I'm gonna assume here that Jeff does what a lot of people in the community have done and see Glaive as a typical woo-wah shill Hoyo hater, right? And maybe that's why he's making this comment. Or is he referencing the quote retweet and not Glaive himself? I don't know. We'll get the full context here in a second. I kind of read this as kind of dumps her in on the quote retweet, not Glaive, but maybe it's not that. And if it is about Glaive, yeah, I don't know, bro. Glaive likes woo-wah a lot, and he likes some things about Genshin. And I think that's fair. I think that's normal. I like a lot of things about woo-wah, and I like a lot of things about Genshin as well, but there's definitely more criticisms I have against Genshin because I play it more.
take. Genshin is Satan, and Wuthering Waves is the Promised Land, a classic online feud. There's only one problem. My video never mentioned Wuthering Waves, not even once. The entire foundation of this public response, a response that was seen by over 300,000 people, was based on a subject I never discussed. It was a reaction to a video that doesn't exist. And that leads to the first real question. Why did this happen? And when the original tweet was met with criticism pointing out the factual error, Mr. Zajiv77 did not address the discrepancy. Instead, he immediately went on the defensive. He claimed that his post was being misrepresented, that people
I take it back. Half the comments on this are people who think this is a negative tweet. These people are brain dead. Well, this is the thing. I didn't exactly see it as a negative tweet. I guess this is such a problem because it's like, you could interpret this in so many different ways. And the problem is the Genshin community and online community itself will interpret it every which way possible. When I first read Zajev's tweet, I really didn't see it as that negative. It's more of a think piece, I guess. Saying he used to be annoyed by people saying things like this. And this is the thing, though. This is the only part so far that I can 100% agree with. Nothing was mentioned in Wuwa at all. This is something that a lot of people in the community do, and again, with Glaive and other people, just because they have a habit of comparing, they think that's all they do. And they think it's all with bad intent or ill intent. A lot of Glaive's content, bro, when it is comparing, I don't see it as bad intent. I compare the games a lot because they're two gacha games in the same space, covering the same niche, which is open world exploration, story game focus. They just do things differently, and people like different things. So I think it makes a lot of sense why people would compare it with good and bad intent. But if Glaive wasn't comparing the two games here, then this is kind of a random shot in the dark that didn't land like Zajev wanted it to, I think, right?
We're failing to understand his real point. He then offered this clarification. I am literally saying, if you're a Genshin hater, woo a Glazer, keep at it and have fun, bro.
I mean, like, in all fairness, bro, like, that is what I got from that tweet. He literally said, where is it?
And did not address the discrepancy. Instead, he immediately went on the defensive. He claimed that his post was...
I mean, he said, like, if you think Genshin is Satan and Wuwa is the Promised Land, you do you. Being a hater's fun. I get it. F solo leveling. Which the last part is probably a joke. I don't know. Maybe he really doesn't like solo leveling. I have no idea. My girlfriend freaking loves it. But yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I didn't necessarily... I don't think this is that deep. is where I'm going with this. I don't know. You can take it in so many different ways. I personally didn't take it in a super negative way, but I can see why Glaive would. It kind of feels like an attack on him, even from an outside perspective.
Laser, keep at it and have fun, bro. This became the first key development. It wasn't a clarification. It was a reframe. A clarification attempts to clear up confusion. A reframe attempts to retroactively change what was said. The original tweet's condescending tone, the language of haters, Satan, and Promised Land is...
It's also another thing when it comes to Twitter and any written rhetoric on a platform. Tone is really hard to convey, dude. It really... I've done this before where I've put a tweet out, people have taken it, and I'm not even going to say the wrong way, just in a way that I didn't intend for it to come across as. And people shit on me endlessly for stuff like that. So I again... Tone is so hard to convey unless you use the Zoomer frickin' /J/ whatever. And even then, even if you do that, a lot of people will still think you're joking if you put /S and stuff. It's like, you just can't win. You cannot win when it comes to written discourse.
Completely ignored. The new official story is that the message was simply a casual, encouraging, have fun, bro. More importantly, this reframe conveniently sidesteps the foundational error, that his entire premise was based on a game my video never even mentioned. This is a classic tactic of, wait for it,
I'm good at
blame shifting. Instead of taking accountability, which, let's be real, who is taking accountability in 2025, am I right? The blame for the misunderstanding is placed entirely on the audience. The problem was never about what he wrote. The problem was that you...
Yeah, to be fair, I do think he could have phrased it differently. To be 100% honest, it's like, you can't... The problem is, I think... He started it with call me hypocritical if you want, because I've been annoyed by this in the past. And then it's like, he goes on to this. I don't know, bro. It's not even like a super nuanced thing. It's literally just, like, we don't know how Zajev meant it at the end of the day. We just don't. But I didn't, because this isn't directed at me or my video or my tweet, I can't see it the way that Glaive sees it. And I think that's a problem with me. I can't put myself in Glaive's shoes here. I've been in this situation before, but not this exact situation. Like, I don't see, personally, I don't see anything super negative about this, but I can understand how it came across like that to the creator of the video, for sure. Because I don't think here he's... In my head, when he's talking about this, when he's like, you think Genshin, Satan, and Wu was the promised land, you do you, being a hater's fun, I get it. To me, I didn't see that as him talking about Glaive. I just saw it as a general blanket statement. I could be totally wrong about that, and he could have been talking about Glaive, in which case, that is an incorrect thing. That is an incorrect statement. And that is incorrect, and he should have addressed that. But I just didn't take it like that from the get-go.
In his words, brain dead for not understanding it. Hey, bravo. Bravo. This is, oh my God. This was his first attempt to control the narrative. And it would not be his last. When the blame the audience approach failed to silence the criticism, the defenses began to shift, leading to a cascade of contradictions. First came the intellectual defense. The new argument was that the original tweet wasn't a simple misrepresentation.
Okay, let me read this. I'm gonna go full balls to the wall on this, dude. Genshin players' level of subtlety. First, you convince everyone that Wuthering Waves is somehow like solo leveling. Then you non-solo leveling to mask your real intent. Fun fact, in the video, never mentioned Wuthering Waves once, nor he compare anything, unlike this post. It was clearly subtle enough to go over your head. I'm comparing my hating on solo leveling to their hating on Genshin. Wuwa isn't the subject of hatred from anyone in this conversation except the Hoyashal boogeyman that whispers in your head. Wuwa isn't the subject of hatred from anyone in this conversation. Okay. This is interesting, because I can see how it would come across as Wuwa being the subject of hatred from Zajef based on that first tweet. Basically saying Genshin is Satan, you think Genshin is Satan and Wuwa is the promised land, it's going to cause some kind of divide. That is contributed to the gacha tribalism. It just is, no matter what the intent is, that is a way that it can be interpreted, and that is an issue. It's not entirely on other people for quote-unquote misunderstanding the point. It is also on how the statement was phrased, in my opinion. But, yeah, I don't know. I think just because Jeff has a big platform and a lot of people, that's why this is such a big deal. And a lot of people will always say the same thing to me. It's like, if it was a smaller account, people wouldn't have a problem with it. But if you bring it up when it's a smaller account, then you're the problem, because that account is small and their opinion is irrelevant because they're a small account. So it's kind of one of those double-edged swords at this point.
No, but a subtle analogy that was too clever for people to understand. Oh my God, second coming of EO, who is the glue in the Hoyo shell systems? It is you.
I don't think I know who EO is.
Zajiv77. Bingo, get him the money, guys. Oh wait, he doesn't have Twitter Blue. So he's doing all these rage bait for nothing, for no money. Oh my God.
I don't have Twitter Blue either, screw that.
Imagine this, in the span of an hour, the tweet had transformed from a message so simple it was quote unquote literally just have fun to a metaphor so complex it went over your head. This is a form of, wait for it,
I'm good at
gaslighting, accusing someone of inventing a narrative for simply reading the words you wrote. How are you even doing this?
Is that cold shit?
Oh, how? And it gets worse, because when claiming intellectual superiority didn't work, the next pivot was to claim victimhood. The narrative changed again. And now the original tweet was suddenly something nice, an act of goodwill. The fault lies with the critics, who are so
I don't even recall Glaive mentioning Wuwa in this critique video, so I wonder why you have to drag Wuwa and weirdly enough solo leveling into this. And before somebody mentions Glaive being a Wuwa CC, he also plays Genshin up the latest MSQ. He does, and has criticized Wuwa before. He has. Weirdly enough, buddy, that's the point. I'm saying it's fun to hate on things. I hate solo leveling for fun. Criticizing the game makes you a hater nowadays, so that's a sad reality we live in. Yeah, no, I agree with this, to be honest. It's I don't think it is just pure hatred on Genshin. It is criticism. Like I said, I haven't seen the video, but majority of Glaive's videos is criticism. It's not just pure hatred. He actually enjoys a lot of aspects of the video game. And then this, it's like, yeah, I mean, to be fair, Wuwa wasn't brought into it until Zajef brought it up. So yeah, this part makes the most sense to me.
toxic. They can't even accept a kind gesture. This tactic flips the script entirely. The person who made the initial misrepresentation is now the victim, and the people who pointed it out are the aggressors. The focus shifts from his actions to to the supposed character flaws of your community, because let's look at it here verbatim. Like frick, if y'all are gonna somehow find a way to pretend you can't even fricking read just so you can keep objectively and fairly criticizing on Genshin players, even when they say something nice about you, don't go around wondering why nobody likes your community.
I mean, maybe I, again, have missed something here or misinterpreted something, but, here's the thing. Like, with this, I assume he's addressing the community here and not Glaive. Can't read to keep shitting on Genshin players even when they say something nice about you. I can understand why that original tweet wasn't exactly taken as nice by Genshin players or Wuwa players. Like, 100%. Yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I think it is kind of rich to say, like, wondering why nobody likes your community. Bro, I feel like that's any gacha community nowadays. That could fit the shoe on any game, even Genshin.
Lamau? Baffling. Oh my god, what a baffling response. And you know what? When playing, the victim didn't stick. Because of course it didn't stick. The final defense was to claim the whole thing was meaningless from the start. Confronted with the fact that I've...
I'll keep it a buck. It is. This is so stupid. This whole situation is the brain dead thing, dude.
Also criticized Wuthering Waves. He ignores that point entirely. His new position is that the tweet was just a reflection on how it is fun to hate on things. This is an attempt to trivialize the entire conversation. By creating a false equivalence, it tries to drag a detailed evidence-based critique down to the same level as his own casual fun hating on a popular manhwa.
Yeah, I can see why this would annoy Glaive, to be fair, because... And I will go and watch the video to see if it is actual critique and not just mindless hate, but I would assume that it is critiquing. Again, I've seen Glaive's videos, and I think he makes a lot of good points, even if he sees them quite harshly sometimes. It's still criticism, whether it's put across in a friendly manner or a aggressive manner, right? Whether or not it's received as well is a different story based on how it's presented. But yeah, I don't know. I think diminishing well thought out, well researched criticism to just pure mindless hate, yeah, that'd annoy me as well, to be honest. That'd annoy me if I did hours of research on a topic to make a very well detailed, well edited video, and then anybody reduced it to just pure hatred, which has happened before, typically with YouTube comments. Yeah, that'd annoy the hell out of me, dude.
It's all just meaningless emotion. Then no one has to be accountable. Oh my god, big brain. And so we are left with 3 mutually exclusive defenses. Hear me out. The tweet was a complex analogy, and it was a nice comment, and it was a meaningless joke all at the same time. Does that make sense? Hell no. And throughout this entire unraveling, through all the deflections and the insult, notice the one thing that is never ever said. He never addresses the foundational error. He never admits that the video wasn't about Wuthering Waves. Every single one of these arguments is a frantic attempt to distract from that simple, undeniable fact. But what happens when a distraction like this is released into the wild? The audience fractures, and the results provide a perfect snapshot of a modern online community.
Yeah, the ripple effect of this is just more gacha tribalism. That's all it is. It's just more division of the player base. Yeah, to be fair, I think it was kind of silly to bring up Wuwa versus Genshin in relation to a video that didn't mention Wuthering Waves once, just because Glaive has played the game. I think that is only going to cause a more negative divide, and then complaining about the communities not liking each other is kind of not a direct response to that, but it is a ripple effect. It is.
I bring up Wuwa if it's not mentioned in the video. First, you have the group of people practicing media literacy. These are the people who did the simple act of checking the source. They saw the tweet, watched the video, and immediately identified the disconnect. They prioritized the good faith discussion grounded in verifiable facts. And it's a reminder that a significant portion of any audience engages in an intellectually honest way. And then there's comments like Kurobots or he has an agenda. You have the tribalists. For this group, the facts and the proof are irrelevant.
Yeah, and this is on both sides too, both sides of the communities.
This is a textbook case of us versus them. Yep. My critique places me in the out group, so my arguments are perceived as an attack. A core part of this attack is to discredit my motives, with the common accusation that I'm just a Wuwa shell who just uses Genshin for the controversy clicks because my rent is due, guys. There is an easy way to test this theory.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna keep it so real right now. Who cares? Who cares? It's not like bro saying the game's irrelevant. It's clearly relevant enough to be making content and videos about, and I think he's very aware of that. And the thing is, these people that are complaining, the hate watchers of Glaive are his biggest contributors, bro. Same with anyone. The people that complain still will watch those videos, and they will still give it engagement, still pay his bills. So whether you love Glaive or hate Glaive or land somewhere in between, like I'm sure most people would, yeah, dude, he's making content that he enjoys making. He is passionate about a game that he is passionate enough about to do the research on what to criticize and what could be better while also enjoying the good. I'm curious to what he says about No Cry, because honestly, I will keep it entirely real here. I think other than the very beginning of Act 1 with the PowerPoint slideshow, I think he's going to enjoy it. I think if he plays through the whole Lore Conquest, I think he will have majority good things to say, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just, because I am a super story heavy guy and a lore heavy guy, maybe I just appreciate it more, which is entirely fair. But I'm open to hearing what he has to say about No Cry.
We can just look at the data. You can look at my channel. Let's not act like I can't get views outside of these games. The fact is, my deep dive videos on Uma Musume Pretty Derby outperform both my Genshin and Wuthering Waves videos combined. My channel's success is built on analysis, not manufactured outrage like your Twitter posts. And then there's also always a third group, the bystander, who claims
That's me, bro. Like
of false neutrality. This is the mistake of treating two very different things as if they are the same. In a situation where one side is presenting facts and the other is misrepresenting them, choosing neutrality is actually a quiet vote for them.
Yeah, I think after seeing all of the tweets, I actually do mainly, if I don't like picking sides in this pointless shit, because it really is just pointless. Like this, nobody's going to remember this in a week. That's the be-all and end-all. This is not Duality 2.0. This is not some heinous thing that somebody has done. This is it's stupid. But yeah, I think Glaive's in the right for feeling this way, to be honest. And like I said, I have no bad blood with Zajef. Genuinely, I think Zajef overall is a very nice guy. He's helped me a lot, and I've never had a problem with Zajef ever, not once in my entire life. But yeah, I would feel the same way Glaive is feeling here, I think, genuinely. And I think Zajef would as well if the same thing happened to him. I've seen him go through Twitter drama with random community people all the time. I think he would also feel the same if the shoe was on the other foot. Maybe not. Maybe he's grown from that, from the years of having that kind of criticism, but I don't know.
Misrepresentation. It is an intellectual disengagement that allows the original falsehood to stand. So make sure you look at both sides fairly. But you know what? The most revealing comments are the ones that try to paint me as inconsistent. In their world, you are either a loyal supporter or a hater.
Bro has been nothing but consistent. I'm gonna keep it a buck. That's why people have such a problem with Glaive, because he's consistently been asking for improvements of Genshin, and then when they actually improve, he actually gives credit. At least in my experience, I'm not trying to glaze Glaive here. Genuinely, he's also had his fair share of misinformation in videos, 100%, where he hasn't done enough research on stuff. In terms of like the I think it was the 6.0 live stream and what you get from it, and things like the Oculi not being in Nod Cry when it was revealed a month or two before that they were going to be, stuff like that. Like he's consistent. It doesn't mean he's always in the right or always correct. Let's just get that out there.
There is no middle ground. This user points out that I praised a recent update before I criticized the game, thinking that it's a gotcha moment. Oh, you got me? You got me, bro. In 4K HD ultrasound. The very act they label as hypocrisy, praising a game's strengths and critiquing its weakness, is the definition of an objective assessment. It makes you want to turn to them and ask, so you're saying I give fair criticism? They unintentionally wrote a perfect endorsement for my entire approach. But of course, not every reaction was a deep dive into logical fallacies. The situation also produced its share of absurdity, like the parody account of the Wuthering Waves CEO, Daily Solon, chiming into the clear
I love this account, dude. I love this account so much.
Wua as indeed the promised land. Well, let me tell you this, brother. The promised land is my bed. Get it? Because my bed, me and you promise. No, you don't get it. But beneath the
Okay, that was the worst part of this whole video, Glaive. Jesus.
Good faith
Never
and
cook
the
again.
bad faith and the absurdity. There is a constant pattern at play here, one that goes beyond just this single incident. In any massive gaming community, an archetype often emerges: the brand defender. These are the creators whose own brand becomes deeply intertwined with the reputation of a single game. They act as guardians of the community, and their content is often centered on maintaining a positive space and a good relationship with the developer. This role
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I'll be honest though, dude. I don't think Zajef fits that. Bro talks about leaks 24/7. Bro demolishes all opinion on the gacha. He hates the gacha systems. In all fairness here, I don't think Zajef fits that criteria. I don't think he has a positive relationship with the Genshin devs. Like, maybe he does. I don't know. But he does cover leaks a lot. So I would heavily doubt
role
it.
isn't inherently a bad thing. The problem arises when that loyalty leads to inconsistent critical standards. It is like having a referee who uses a different rulebook depending on which team has the...
In all fairness, again, I also think Zajef has very consistent criticisms of the game. It's just that a lot of people don't agree with his criticisms. And the criticisms that he has are definitely more focused on the very specific things that he enjoys in terms of like end game and what he doesn't like the gacha system. Other stuff, not so much. Like story, I don't think I've seen him criticize story that much at all. And that's typically what Glaive does tend to criticize, I think. I think both of these people are very consistent. I think they just like very different things. And I think that this tweet from Zajef was a bit of a miss. I do. I think it was a bad idea. And especially not to just say afterwards, like, oh, shouldn't have pitted the two games against each other instead of being like, oh, yeah, this is why the communities don't like your community because you misunderstood it. It's like, yeah, but you did bring them up. You did. You know, gacha players don't read, dude. You know this.
Wall. The same level of scrutiny is not applied evenly. While some deflect criticism of one game, I've made it a core part of my work to apply the same critical lens to all games, including the ones I enjoy. So while the narrative being pushed is that I am a Wuwa Glazer, that label falls apart when you look at the evidence. My videos on that game have pointed out some issues, like the design problem of comfort creep, where new characters aren't necessarily stronger, but
the problem is here as well, you'll see based on the views here, the biggest thing is the Wuwa videos typically don't get as many views as the Genshin videos. And that's just because Genshin is inherently a bigger game with more relevancy in the YouTube space. Not to say it's a better game or a worse game, but in terms of relevancy and what's being searched and the amount of views, people would way quicker click on a Genshin criticism video, even if they love Genshin, than they would a Wuwa criticism video if they hate Wuwa, right? I think it's kind of sad, but it also makes sense. Genshin's been out for far longer. It's developed a way bigger fan base because Hoyo are a way bigger company, right? Bro, I love so many things about both games, and it's like, I'll watch both videos because I want both to improve. But yeah, I think that's another reason why people see Glaive as a Wuwa Glazer and Genshin hater, because more people see the Genshin criticism videos than they do the Wuwa criticism videos. It just makes sense, right?
Are so much easier to play that they make older, more complex characters feel obsolete. In my opinion, I've also broken down the long-term dangers of systemic power creep from new mechanics like the outro buffs, which threaten to invalidate a large portion of the launch roster over time. The standard is the same for every game I cover. This begs the question though, why does this pattern of inconsistent standards emerge so often? The answer, as it often does, lies in the pressures that exist behind the content itself. To understand the content, you have to follow the money. There are unspoken economic incentives at play.
Wait, why did he actually sound like Mr. Krabs then?
To understand the content, you have to follow the money. There are unspoken economic incentives at play that shape the entire discourse. On one hand, there is a powerful incentive for unwavering positivity. A creator building their brand on a single game benefits from staying in the good graces of both the developer and the community. This can lead to sponsorships, early access, and a stable audience.
People think that I'm like one of Genshin's biggest haters now, but I think that's so obviously not the case, right? And it's like, I still get early access. I still get sponsorship stuff. Like, I'm still in good graces, even though I criticize the game, because, and here's the thing, the community care more. The community view criticisms as negativity, whereas the developers see criticisms as a positive thing, or they just don't see the criticisms. It's one or the two, right? Because they want to improve. They do. They want people to be spending money on their game and playing their game. Of course they want to improve. It just depends on if they're actually listening, and if they are, if they want to change things. But yeah, criticizing a game is not going to put you in the game's bad books. It's not. For anybody listening, especially content creators, if you have things that you want games to do better, I think you should be vocal about it. And I think you should also be vocal about the things that they do good, like I was with Nod Cry. I genuinely think Nod Cry is a huge step in the right direction.
It is the safe path. On the other hand, there is an equally powerful incentive for outrage. Drama sells. Hot takes and tribal arguments generate massive engagement, which on platforms like YouTube and Twitter translates directly to ad revenue and visibility. Genuine nuanced critique, the kind that takes time to research and requires an audience to think, is often the last profitable and the most risky path, getting squeezed out between the two extremes. So when a creator who attempts this middle path, getting squeezed out between the two extremes. So
yeah, God, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting squeezed out between those two extremes, you know what I'm saying?
When a creator who attempts this middle path is publicly misrepresented and harassed, other creators take notes. This leads to a phenomenon where people begin to self-censor. They see the dogpiling and the bad faith attacks and quietly decide that the risk isn't worth it, sticking to safer topics. The long-term result is a content space with less diversity of opinion, where developers face less accountability. I need you, the viewers, to actually put the puzzle pieces together here. But the external
You need to keep Renova off the screen when you're talking about important stuff.
pressures only work because they amplify the conflicts that already exist within the community itself. That brings us to the most fundamental part of this entire situation. It all circles back to a disconnect that on the surface seems completely illogical. And it makes you ask, don't we all want the same thing? Don't we want the game to be better? Why are we even fighting? The reason is that we're not actually talking about the same things. My goal is to start a conversation about improving a product for the players who invested in it, for the content creators that cover it. But that conversation gets derailed by four powerful underlying currents. First, for many, it is not just a game, it is an identity. When you critique a game, they don't hear constructive feedback. They hear an attack on their hobby, their community, and their personal judgment. Defending the game becomes the same as defending themselves. Second, there is a fear of a ruin escape. People play to get away from real-world problems. A critique about predatory monetization or flawed design feels like bringing the real world into their fantasy. They resist it not because you're wrong, but because your truth is uncomfortable. Third,
fair. I'm just gonna listen to this for a sec. I've already yapped so much. Hold on.
And the third one, we don't all have the same definition of better. For a critic, better means fairer systems. For a casual player, it might just mean more story quests. For a high
give me more cutscenes, bro. I'm not even a casual player.
Spender, the current system might already feel better.
Bro, the Act 2 cutscenes were phenomenal. Literally out of this world. I think the animations were so good, so clean. My only thing is, I want more.
Because it rewards their investment with exclusivity. We assume we have the same goal, but we are often playing for entirely different reasons. And finally, there is the very famous sunk cost defense. Players with thousands of hours and dollars invested have a subconscious need to justify that investment. It is psychologically easier to attack someone pointing out the game's flaws than to confront the possibility that their time and money were spent on a compromised system. So the fight isn't really about the game's quality. It is a clash of these deeply personal, often unspoken perspectives. And in the end of the day, that is what this is really about. This entire chain of events is a small-scale example of a much larger struggle online. On one side, you have the nuanced, evidence-based critique. It is often complicated and requires your attention. On the other, you have the much more powerful forces of tribalism. Us versus them. It is simple, emotional, and it gets a lot of engagement. And that brings me to the reason I do this in the first place. People ask why I make these critical videos.
I could be wrong here. I'm gonna predict it's because he genuinely enjoys what Genshin was and could be and wants it to improve and be better. Same with Wuwa.
It's not because I hate these games, it is the opposite. I make these criticism videos for the betterment of the space actually. I want people to realize what they deserve as players. I want to push for better monetization, for better quality of life systems. I want better explorations. I want an actual loadout system. Criticism for me is an investment in the belief that something you enjoy can and should be better. When that feedback, that investment, is deliberately misrepresented by an influential voice, it sends a clear message to developers. You don't need to listen. Why would they?
Yeah. And it's like right now, I think we were kind of at a point in Natlan where a lot of people were thinking, this game is not as good as it used to be. Here's a bunch of criticism. And I feel like with Nod Cry, we're going to shift a little bit. Because if Nod Cry continues at the pace that it is going at currently, I think that mindset will shift to, damn, this game is good. It could be even better. Here's a bunch of criticism. And I think people would be more receptive to that. I really do think they would be. It's like the game's already made so many good improvements. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep getting more. Let's make it even better. Take to the moon, baby, to the moon, you know? Like, the puns aside.
When their most passionate fans will silence any meaningful dissent for them, the community in the end is worse off for it. So I will leave you with a question to think about. What is the responsibility of larger creators when they choose to frame the work of smaller ones for their audience? But that is all from me, Glaive Keo, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers, dude.
A quick one on that. I feel like here's the thing. No matter what your size on the internet is, if you put a creative piece of work out there, you need to expect that creative piece of work to be criticized. Now, whether it's going to be rightfully or wrongfully criticized is totally dependent on the person doing it, right? You need to think how you're going to handle that. It's happened to me. It's happened to so many people. I have called out small creators or just random accounts on Twitter and stuff for saying the most heinous stuff. And the first thing people say is, bro, they've got like 100 followers. It's really not that deep. Like, this isn't going to reach that many people. When they're telling people to off themselves and stuff, like, it's terrible, right? In my opinion, it doesn't matter your view count, your sub count, or your size at all. If you're posting something on a public platform, you can expect it to be criticized, and that's fine. That's something that took me a long time to come to terms with. And you'll also see people rage baiting all the time, bro. There's so many haters on Twitter that just so badly want me to make a video about them. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's so funny. It's always the freaking like 17-year-olds in the bio as well. Crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I do think I can understand why Glaive is pissed at this, to be honest. I think Zajeff definitely said a couple of things that that kind of poked the bear when it comes to the Gacha tribalism that weren't necessarily important to say. In all fairness, I just think that's what it comes down to. I still think it's pointless. I think this whole drama will die after less than a week. I don't think it'll go further than this. I think as soon as people have seen this video, that's it. It'll be done, and that's how it should be, to be honest. But I do think people should learn from it. I think if you're gonna criticize something, at least watch the source material first, so that you don't make yourself look silly, right? Because even if that's not the intent, that's the outcome, and that's the problem. Anyway, that was a 14.5-minute video, and I over doubled the length because I talked so damn much. My god, go check out the original video, subscribe to Glaive, and subscribe to me if you want to see my my honest thoughts and opinions on things like this in the future.